Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Mom Show. It is Dr. D, mom of three. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited for those who are viewing on the YouTube channel and Facebook, but also for those who are listening on the podcast. This is episode 8. Woo woo! We have made it to our 2-month anniversary, and we're still going strong. And of course, today I have a super special guest, which I can't wait to talk about her and for you to hear from her because she's just so amazing. But before we delve into that, I hope everybody is staying safe and following all the recommendations because those COVID numbers are going up. Don't forget, if you've missed any previous episodes of the Dr. Mom Show, check that out so you can know my dream and goal for educating you and giving you some life hacks. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Mom Show. This is episode 15 of the Dr. Mom Show. Woo, woo. We are slowly making it up there. For those of you listening, welcome, welcome. And of course, those of you watching, thank you again. Of course, I am Dr. D, mom of three, your host of the Dr. Mom Show. And I hope everybody is having a fantastic day today. And again, I hope as you've started this month of January in 2021, that's WON, that you have had tons of wins this year already. If not, don't worry, because our special guest today will be dropping so many nuggets for you to have tons of wins this year if you haven't gotten any. Of course, if you've missed any previous episodes of the Dr. Mom Show, don't forget to check those out to learn more about me and what we talk about on this show. And of course, as I always remind you, the Dr. Mom Show is an informational medical resource. It does not take the place of your physician or your child's physician. So definitely make sure you seek your medical diagnoses and treatment plans from your own provider. So today, once again, as I always say, I'm super excited because we have a super, super special guest and we're about to get physical up in here. So today we have a professional fitness trainer in here, and he not only does that, he does tons of other things. He is Eraldo Maglara. Woo! How we welcome him. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. D. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being on the show again.
Oh, my pleasure.
So just to give you a little scratch of the surface of what Eraldo does, he is not only a nationally recognized fitness trainer, he is a TV talk show host, executive producer, entrepreneur, influencer, I'm about to become short of breath, speaker, and an author. I mean, you guys thought, I just want to say this is like my male version. For those of you who follow me, this is totally my male version. So Eraldo has also appeared on numerous news shows, so you may have already heard of him or seen him on TV, and that includes NBC, CBS, Fox, and ABC. But he's also been featured in multiple magazines, including Forbes, Money Inc., Self, Oxygen, Muscle and Fitness. That's right, I said it, Muscle and Fitness. Who doesn't like looking at those magazines? Huffington Post, as well as many, many more. So if you have not read his articles and his features or seen his show, I would totally recommend checking those out and supporting him. So again, help me welcome Eraldo Maglara. Yay! And thank you. So before we dive in today, I'm excited again because we are talking about and starting off this new year with how we can get family fitness done in 2021. But before we do that, I would just love for Eraldo to just share a little bit more about himself and what he does.
Wow. That's a big question, right? I'm 55.
He looks really good. For those of you who are looking, I mean, if you want a good looking trainer, here we go. I'm telling you,
Right,
don't worry. I will have his contact information. You can reach out to him, so it will all be available.
You're making me blush. So I've always had a passion for music or for sports. That's been it. I mean, I've had other interests as well, but those are the two that have driven my direction ever since I was little. So when the music kind of fell apart for me, I relied mostly on my sport. And I went to college. I got my business degree. I got married. So I had to put things sort of on the back burner. So I went to work. I went in corporate America for 20 years. And then somewhere along the line, I was always missing that sports, that passion that I had, which was helping people, educate people, and be fit. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about preparing yourself for your senior years, which are challenging. If you don't do anything about it, they become very challenging. And I want people to enjoy their life in their later years, because that's where you get the most pleasure, whether it be with your own family, with your kids, with your spouse, traveling. And so that's where my philosophy came in. And that's why I wrote the book, The Real Fountain of Youth. And it focuses on that perspective, that you should be able to enjoy your later years because you worked so hard your whole life. Now it's time to, reap the benefits of your hard work. So I wanted to make sure that was in place. So that's basically my story up to now. I have done the TV shows that you mentioned since 2015. I've done 3 shows. I've just completed my last one back in December, and I continue to be a spokesperson for health and nutrition and fitness, and I have my own podcast show as well. So I do many things to help as many people as I can, basically.
And I truly love that. And it's so true what you said, that, we work really hard when we're younger. And then, of course, if you have kids, you're always busy with your kids. And when you get older, that's really when you reap everything that you've sown. And you're so right. If you're not in good health, physically, mentally, emotionally, I mean, you don't enjoy everything you've worked for. So I so agree with that, making sure that we put ourselves first when it comes to our health and taking care of ourselves. And don't worry, I know Eraldo mentioned his book and his podcast. We will be hooking you up. And just so you know, I said Eraldo is good looking, but you know what? I'm a firm believer that when I'm married, for those of you listening on the podcast, obviously, because I have triplets, they didn't kind of come from nowhere. It wasn't immaculate. I promise you that. But I'm a firm believer that to compliment people, I think compliments are amazing, and it's not anything that's bad. And you know what? I believe that you can change somebody's day, even if you tell somebody that you love the blouse they're wearing, or you like their shoes. It's simple things like that are nice things to do on a daily basis. So no, I'm not hitting on Eraldo, just so you guys know out there. So before, like, my husband's getting all these calls. But no, it's so good. And then I look at people, and even when patients come in, you always say to yourself, it's hard to talk to a patient about their weight if you're overweight or if you're on a healthy weight. So that's a compliment I'm giving to Eraldo also, because he can't be a fitness trainer and be overweight and look unhealthy, because then his clients will be like, what is he talking about? Because if he's not living it, he's not doing it. So that's where I'm coming from, that, we want to be good looking inside and outside, because that's our healthiest space. So again, it's a new year, and one reason I did this show is because I know on everybody's New Year resolution list or affirmation, whatever you're doing this year, that there's something about better health. And whether that looks like dieting exercising more, eating more fruits and vegetables, not eating out as much, whatever it is, I know for a fact that there's something about your health and wellness that is on your list. And to be honest, I think that's wonderful because everybody should include that. Remember to prioritize your health. Now, this is a tricky part because 2020 was a very different year. Obviously, a lot of our norms changed, but we all had to adapt. Some of these struggles obviously have carried over to 2021, but that doesn't stop us or limit us from keep on living, right? So we know we have social distancing. We know we have people working from home. We know we have virtual learning, people trying to teach their kids from home, gyms closing, etc. So it's like everything, the odds are against us for trying to live a healthier life. So that's my first question for Eraldo. How can families fit health and wellness into their busy schedules, how it is now?
Well, obviously, Dr. D, with the pandemic that we had last year, things changed dramatically, even for myself, because I was in a transitional period last year where I moved my business from New Jersey to New York. So that completely shut everything down for me. I'm a personal trainer. I need to see people. I need to be close to people. And very, very difficult. The pandemic shut everything down. So with the new year coming along, I think it's important that in order for you to make your exercise an everyday event, I think it's an event. You have to do it in your scheduling. You have to physically write it down on your schedule, right? So, right. So if you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, or whether you work for somebody else, you have a schedule, right? You have your meetings, you have your lunches, whatever it is, everything is scheduled in. So if you make the time to actually write in your calendar, today at 3 p.m. I'm going to exercise, tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'm going to exercise, or whatever, I think you're going to be more prone to sticking to that schedule. I mean, obviously things come up in between, but if you can understand the importance of exercise, and whether you are at a gym or whether you're at home, there are things you can do to get your physical, body ready for that.
Yeah, and I think that's great because it's hard. One, if you're a working parent, I know just as myself being a full-time physician, I teach, entrepreneur, my triplets, wife, everything X, Y, and Z. You're literally squeezing every second out of your day,
right,
to be efficient. But I just want to reiterate what Eraldo said, that you have to put it on your to-do list. And for those of you who follow me, I am like a to-do list freak over here. Like, I'm all about writing it down because I love feeling accomplished. I love checking it off. But you have to be deliberate about it. Like Eraldo said, if you're not deliberate about it and you don't put it down and make yourself accountable for it, you won't get it done. And I mean, I always talk about having an accountability partner, no matter what it is, whether it's a goal in life or even something like exercise. It's nice. My husband is awesome because he'll ride me. He'll be like, "Did you work out today?" And I'm like, ugh. But you know what? It's that love-hate relationship that you do want. You want somebody who loves you enough that they will encourage you, but you have that fine line that there's almost, it's not like meanness, but they'll just say, "Hey, come on, get up." It's that tough love that they'll say, "Get up, come on." Even if it's 15 minutes that you ride the bike, do the elliptical, walk on the treadmill, whatever it is, let's go walk outside. I think that's so important. And that's so true, that people just have to be so deliberate about it.
Yeah, it's the emotional support. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
The emotional support. And being able to enforce it, being able to be there for your spouse or your kids or whatever, to support them as much as you can. I can't do the exercise for them, but I can encourage them.
Yes, exactly. And with that, like with your fitness training, are you doing virtual fitness training now, or are you back to doing more personal fitness training?
I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in the New York City area because the laws and the rules keep changing every day. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. I did sign up to do some virtual training on one of those apps that they have.
Yeah.
But things keep changing again, so it's kind of hit or miss at this point. So I'm hoping that maybe with the vaccine and that things are finally slowly going to go back into the way. I don't think they're going to go completely the way they were before, but I think with that vaccine, I think things maybe can start to loosen up a little bit, where they'll be able to go back to training in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and I agree with that, that I think there's just going to be a new normal for us, and it's not necessarily going to go exactly back to the way things were.
Right.
Now, I know, again, this is a very different time, but I want to bring up, of course, obesity was already an epidemic in this country, in the United States, and unfortunately that includes both kids and adults. But with COVID, the rate of the incidence, of obesity has increased for both kids and adults. And then I'm sure everybody's heard of COVID-15, that like 15 pounds, that average of 15 pounds that everybody, well, I will say I'm proud of myself because I've still been working. My schedule has been regular, if anything, a little bit more hectic. But the majority of my patients have put on an average between about 12 to 15 pounds since this started. And there's just this increase of unhealthiness. So why is now even more important for us to stay fit with all of this happening?
Well, that's a great question. I wish I knew the answer. Right? I don't know. I think it's because people are just unaware, or maybe they're just not comfortable with the way things are right now. As you're a doctor, the body is always fighting against hunger. It's always fighting against hunger. So it always wants to eat and protect itself from starvation. That's what it does. So if you during these times, people, not only is the dieting important, but always the exercising, but also it's the mental aspect of it that I think plays a major role in it. So we are always eating to protect ourselves from that starvation mode. So we need to sit back and take a look at the effects of putting on so much weight, because then you have other things that are going to be correlated to it, which is high blood pressure, diabetes, right? Everything starts affecting that issue, and then you can run into some serious issues. So it's important that you do your due diligence. You understand what happens when you don't. And I don't like to use the word diet. I call it proper nutrition. So it's a little bit more, because diet, it's always, when you think of diet, people are like, oh my God, I got to starve myself, or I got to eat this food. Well, it's just, right? It's such a big gap when it comes to dieting. So do your due diligence, do some research, ask your doctor, very important, doctor like yourself, ask your doctor what is the best way to move forward in a healthy way.
And I do love that, because personally, I'm not a fan of diets. I feel there's a lot of fad diets, and I usually try to say lifestyle, just make it your lifestyle. And the more consistent you are with it, it's so much easier, because you're right, because our minds are so powerful, because as soon as you say, if you've ever fasted, like I'm Christian, and sometimes you fast, and that's the day, like I may not eat breakfast every other day, but that's the day when I go to fast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. And I want to eat something. So right. It's so insane. I mean, you hit the nail on the head about, mentally, like that is just so much more powerful, and just that self-control. So you essentially want to set yourself up so you're succeeding and you do awesome. And of course, here on the Dr. Mom Show, I love to drop some statistics and the numbers. So I will give you some numbers about obesity. And this is a couple years ago, so this number most likely has gone up. So according to the CDC, or the Centers of Disease Control, in 2017 to 18, the prevalence of obesity in adults was approximately 42%. That's almost half of the adults in the United States are considered obese or an unhealthy weight. I usually like to use that instead, because I don't like calling my patients obese. And the prevalence of obesity in kids is 18.5%. 6%, which is a lot. And these are kids, of course, up to 18 is what is an adult. So who they looked at are kids between 2, which is a toddler, to 19. So literally, there is no wiggle room here, none at all. If you get that pun, and this is like no messing around. And Eraldo touched on it a little bit, when he brought up that this epidemic of obesity is going to lead to higher incidence of diabetes, so increased sugars, a higher incidence of blood pressure, cholesterol. It's just a vicious cycle. So unfortunately, obesity has continued to increase with the pandemic. So between isolation, and we talked about mental health, so there's an increase of anxiety, depression, people not sleeping. And we know for a fact that people who are depressed, a lot of them end up eating. They're eating their emotions. When they're anxious, they eat more. It's also been shown if people don't sleep well, the hormone that causes us to be hungry goes up. So have you noticed that? So just think of a night that you stayed up late, or if you wake up, everybody goes for that, midnight snack that you have to get it. But remember, like Eraldo said, you just have to put mind over matter and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to get that snack. Because remember, at night, our metabolism, how we break things down, it slows down. So when you're eating cookies at night, it's not going to break it down, because you don't go eat your cookies and then go walk around. You go back into bed. So you're not burning any calories. Whereas if you ate a cookie during the day, at least you go walk around and try to burn some of it. So remember that. And there has definitely been an increase, of course, in screen time and a decrease in activity. So please, 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 on my pediatric side, we recommend no more than 2 hours. For older kids, I know that's gone up with virtual learning, but please, when your kids are not doing their classwork, get them off of the screen. No TV, no iPad, no telephone. The telephone also counts. Get them up and moving, because when a child is at an unhealthy weight, the chances of them being at an unhealthy weight when they're older is so, so much higher. So please, please, please be diligent about yourself and your children. So now, Eraldo, as you very well know, people's physical health have been affected tremendously over the past year, but so has their mental health, as we talked about. So can you speak a little bit of how physical and mental health work together, and why it's so important for people to pay attention to both and not just one?
Well, anytime you make a decision to do something is a mental process. So when we're fixed about doing exercise or doing something that is important to you, you already made that mental effort that it's good for you and that you're going to do it. Exercise, unfortunately, it's not only mental, but it's also physical. So people, when they see you, they look at your body first, and they have a prejudgment about you even before they meet you, that whether you are, unfortunately, and I have to say this is an unfortunate event, because in today's world, we should accept one another as we are. We should love ourselves first and love everybody else the same. But unfortunately, you live in a society where people are being judged by their physical condition. Exercise is one of those things that it's a physical thing. You're going to see it. But it's good because it also encourages you to move forward. It also encourages you to spread, if you're smart enough to share this information with everyone, and to make them understand that, it's imperative. You need to do it. There's studies. You are aware of these studies that show exercise is good. It's always been around. These studies have been around for a long time. So I'm a science-based guy. I'm a certified personal trainer through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, and that's what they do. Yes, amen to that. And they're based on science and technique and form and educating. So that's where it all comes down to. This is not some hearsay or some individual or a group that are just going to do some exercise or experience. You have to follow the science. At a certain point, you have to follow the science. And that's why it's important to have both a mental and a physical component in your education.
And I love that you brought that up, because part of the Dr. Mom Show is we talk about evidence-based medicine. Mm-hmm. And this is probably, if you listen to the show, it's one of my pet peeves that some people seek out help no matter what it is, from people who, and I'm not like, oh, people have to be certified and it only matters what your degree is, but there is a difference between somebody who has spent time and energy and have gone to school and have trained, because there's so much, like how Eraldo was just saying, it's not just exercise. It's not like, hey, do 10 reps of this and do 10 reps of that. It's so much deeper. Like he has to know the pathophysiology of how the cells are working and why one exercise will work a certain way. And if I go there and I'm like, hey, I had these triplets, I want to tone my core. I mean, somebody who may not have trained professionally like him would be like, core, what's she talking about? What is she talking about, core? Because for those of you who don't know, you may think like, oh, you know, when a girl's pregnant, it's just her belly that gets big. But that affects so many things. It affects your back muscles. So for like men out there, if you have a lady who's had a baby, your wife, realize that women have a higher incidence of back pain after having kids, even if they've had no trauma or no back pain in the past. And that's just because those muscles get so weakened. It's stretched. Everything's just stretched when women are pregnant. So, you know, when you go to somebody, you want them to be able, and I love that Eraldo used the word scientific. Yeah, because you want some evidence behind what you're doing. You just don't want some Joe Smo telling you, hey, just do this, because there's also a technique. There's a proper technique to working out. I always talk about stretching, but there's also a proper technique. And I will be honest, sometimes my husband's like yelling at me because I do not like squats. Eraldo, I'm so sorry. I like struggle with squats. Like I have to have a chair behind me for my husband to say like, you got to get down this low. I just struggle with squats. I'm just being honest here. I mean, this is the real deal here with Dr. Mom. And I mean, but the thing is, I prefer him. Again, there goes that tough love. You want a trainer who's going to give you tough love and not say, okay, go ahead, do the 20 squats, however, willy-nilly, but to say, no, you like wanted to work the muscles we're trying to work. So you want somebody who knows the proper technique like Eraldo and will correct you so you're working the right muscles in the right way. And that's so, so important, because I'm sure you come across people who train who may not necessarily undergone like professional schooling or training or certification.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you bring up the squat, right? Because because when you think about the squat, right? When you sit,
my eyes like twitching now.
Right? So when you're sitting at a table, you sit in a chair, right? So you're basically squatting, right? When you go in a car, what do? You're basically squatting. So, you know, when you go to tie your shoes, you're squatting. So the squatting is something that we do basically. So it's a functional movement that you do every single day. But I've had people or you know, clients of mine that were not able to do the squat for whatever reason. They were not. So as a personal trainer, I always like to come up with different ways on how to strengthen your glutes, your quads, right? Your hamstrings. So maybe do a forward lunge, maybe do a reverse lunge, or maybe do other things that are going to strengthen those muscles. So you're not the first that's hated the quad, so don't feel bad. I've had people, you know, have really big issues with it, but it's, you know, exercise, it's about being creative. Once you learn the basics, the fundamental of exercise, then you can take it a step further and be very creative with. That's why you see so many different forms of exercises out there. And it's interesting because this has been happening more and more, especially with the pandemic. People have been more creative at home to figure out ways to, so it's a fascinating way of looking at exercise.
Well, I love that you mentioned that, because now if my husband puts me to do squats, I'm gonna be like, Eraldo, who's a professional trainer, said I squatted all day. I was like sitting in my chair, got in my car, got out. So I did my squats for the day. Just saying. I can do lunges. I'm okay with lunges, but squats, there's just something about it. I just have such a hard time getting where I need to be compared to a lunge. I mean, I guess just stepping out with my one leg is just easier for me compared to doing it with both legs.
You all right?
But that's what we work towards, right? That's why I continue to do it, so I can get stronger and better at it. So
absolutely. Couldn't agree anymore.
Well, awesome. So as I mentioned before, Eraldo is an author, and he mentioned his book. The name of his book is called The Real Fountain of Youth. Yes, there it is. Simple lifestyle changes for productive longevity. And of course, you can order your copy today. So go ahead on Amazon.com. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can get it within 48 hours. But his book is amazing and offers relatable tips and advice on aging and health. So tell us a little bit about your book, what motivated you to write about it, and just a sneak peek without any spoilers.
Well, I've always wanted to write a book, especially when I started, because I also went to school for personal training. So, and I wanted to get educated on all aspects of training. And I always wanted to, I was like, I think we need to have a book that not only teaches proper exercise and eating and all that, but also makes you think about as you get older, you want to exercise so you can see the benefits. And I didn't see any of those books on the market. So I said to myself, I'm going to write a book. I don't care what it takes, but I'm going to focus on writing a book. And it took me a good couple of years to do it. I've always had some ghostwriters helping me out, but to publish it and to market it, it was quite a challenge. So the book is really about learning the fundamentals, but learning also what I call the multi-pronged approach, which is not only exercising, but dieting, but to get a medical assessment. This is something that it's very important. So if you haven't exercised for a long time and you want to get back into exercising, the first thing you must do is go visit with your doctor, speak with your doctor, get your everything checked out, your blood work and all your symptoms, make sure there isn't any underlying conditions that you should be aware of. And once you get clearance from your doctor, then you can start with your healthy, positive mind. And that's where it's very important with the book when it comes in. And it plays a huge part in how successful you're going to become. So I don't want to give out too much, but that's basically the little snippet from the book. So.
That's right. I love it. So make sure you order your copy today, The Real Fountain of Youth. And I love that you said that. And that's why I think it's so important when I know people, again, aren't running to the doctor, but I always remind people to at least get that once a year annual checkup where you get your head to toe physical, your blood work, just so you know, because then your doctor can also impart like, hey, you need to start at a lower level, a medium level, because some people go out there and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this advanced Zumba class. I've been there once. I did a step class, right? Remember when like step used to be the style? And I was like, oh, I'm totally putting 2 steps under the stepper on each side. And it was so funny. It was my first time in the class. And then she came around before the class started. She was like, oh, I haven't seen you here. And I said, yeah, this is my first class. And she's like, oh, I see you have 2, steps under there. Maybe, take one off. So I took one off and I'm thinking in my head, oh, she doesn't know me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Impact Central over here. In the middle of the workout, I was like, thank God, as I'm doing my grapevine, I'm like, thank goodness she told me to take that extra step out, because my legs would have just been like jello and fell out.
You bring up an important issue, which I just want to briefly point out. When people don't get the education or get the clearance and they go out all, gung-ho, what happens is that most of the time they're going to get hurt. And that's what sets people back. The fact that a lot of people say, I don't want to exercise because I don't want to get hurt. And that pushes a lot of people off the exercise. It gives them a bad, image of exercise. So it is important to learn your fundamentals. It is important to at least have a conversation with a trainer, not necessarily hire them, but at least get a proper conversation and learn the basics. And then once you learn the basics, then you can master your exercise technique.
Like 2 step-ups. Yeah, right. And it is important because you're right. And another thing, the same thing with when people try lifestyle modification is you may try a program and you're like, whoa, this is too hard. And then you just give up. Right. Instead of, like Eraldo said, talking to your physician or fitness trainer that, hey, what works for me and what level should I begin at? And I think that helps because you will be more successful. And just to reiterate what Eraldo said is at most gyms and stuff, you can get like 1 free session with trainers so they can kind of get your body mass index, your fat percentage, tell you, what you shouldn't do, things like that. So a little direction. So I agree. It is nice to kind of have that consult if you, at this point, aren't able to get a fitness trainer. But if you are, I think, again, it's something nice because they hold you accountable. And at least at the end of the day, you know that you're coming out with that proper exercise technique. So at the beginning, so remember, just because I'm a doctor, yeah, like we know stuff, but you know, sometimes I do stuff. I didn't talk to my doctor. I was like, I can do this too separately. so good thing the trainer in the room brought me down a notch, or else I probably would have hurt myself. It would have been bad. And again, at the beginning of the show, you know, I mentioned that Eraldo has been on TV multiple times, but also has had his own shows. He's had a total of 3 shows now. His most recent one, he's the producer and host of Lifestyle Today with Justine and Eraldo. Currently, they're taking a break because we all need a break, right? Even Dr. Mom takes a break. But you can still catch those episodes on his website and on his YouTube channel. So can you talk a little bit more about your show and what you guys talk about on there?
Well, we started off basically during the pandemic, which was something that was difficult to do. We had originally started, we were supposed to debut the show in April, and then it got pushed to June. Every time they kept on pushing in the date. So it makes it difficult when you have that to handle. But the show is basically about, you know, educating. It's about getting informed. It's about having guests on, whether it be some are celebrities, some are non-celebrities. There's products on TV to kind of direct you in the right way. And it's a fun show. And we, like I said, the show just basically wrapped up in December. And I'm personally taking a break from the show. So most likely starting in January, you know, my co-host will take over the show. And we'll see what's going to happen. I'm open to other possibilities. Like I said, I've been going nonstop since 2015 with the 3 shows and producing and hosting. So you get burned out after for a little while. You just need a little break to just kind of reassess where everything is. So we'll see. I'm looking always for opportunities, but most importantly, helping people, educating people. That is my goal. Number 1 goal.
That's right. I love it. That's what we're all about at the Dr. Mom Show. So this has been awesome. But before we leave, Eraldo has been so kind because, again, we're talking about how to incorporate family fitness and get it done in 2021. So he's going to just show us a couple exercises that you can do at home, and they're even kid friendly. So if you have kids at home, you can have your kids do it alongside you. Take it away, Eraldo.
So let me see. Let me back up my camera here.
Yes. He has enough room so he doesn't hurt himself.
For myself, right? So here we go. So what I wanted to kind of cover, you know, we talked about the squats, right? So the one thing you can do about your squat, you can do it with your kids as well. If you have an issue with it, all you have to do is put your back on a wall to help you stabilize yourself. And I know you can see my feet right now, shoulder width apart. And slowly what you're going to do is just squat down as much as you can, and then you come right back up again. So it's you know, you're judging yourself how far down you can really go. Parallel should be the key to it. But when you're doing it with kids, it's important to make it fun, right? To make it interesting and to get them involved. So it's one of the old exercises that I still do with some of, you know, some other my nephews and nieces. Let's do some jumping jacks, right? Let's that hard part. It gets right. It gets them activated. It gets them motivated, right? Or even, you know, knees, right? As you can see, boom, boom, boom. You know, these kids. They're very patient in certain ways, but sometimes their focus is very limited. So you got to get involved. Get them to on their level, and whether it's the basic running exercises or even push-ups, they're even disciplined against. I know you can't see the. Right here. So just basically, you can do it again first at the table, nice and easy, right? The idea is to make it fun, to make it interesting, and to talk to them like they're number 1. And that's what it's about.
And I love that. I mean, the biggest thing is to make it fun. And then the other thing is you also have to do it. As we know with kids, they are little copycats. You know, whatever you say, whatever you do, they copy it. So if they see that you're exercising and working out, usually they want to be just like you. you know? So they're like, oh, I see mommy and daddy working out. I want to do that too. And
Yeah.
I love Eraldo. He showed you stuff that you don't even need anything. He wasn't using any exercise equipment. This is all stuff you have. I know everybody has a countertop. I know everybody has a wall in their house. And I just love the fact that that's something simple. It doesn't take time. You don't have to get equipment together. You can do it during commercial breaks if you know you're watching TV and you're kind of like, hey, every time there's commercial, let's just run in place like you did, or let's see who's going to do the most jumping jacks. My kids try, can you believe this? My kids try to compete and see if they could do more jumping jacks than me. I tell you what, I'm still the jumping jack, even though I can't do a squat, I'm still a jumping jack queen in my house. I was like, these kids have the nerve. You have the nerves. I used to jump double dutch. Don't play with jumping jacks.
That's right. I love it. I love doing that.
So I love the simplicity, and that's the thing. Like Eraldo was saying, you don't have to make it complex. It's not, you can take simple exercises like the ones he was so kind to show you. So you can incorporate squats, jumping jacks, running in place, even push-ups. And look, he did all of that. And that's essentially a full body workout. Like you just,
there you go.
You just got a full body workout right there with those 4 basic exercises that he showed you. So no excuses. Exactly. It's all from here to take it everywhere else. So there's no excuse why you can't incorporate some family fitness this year. And you'll see it's so much fun. You'll get to a point where your kids are probably asking you, hey, mama, hey, daddy, is it time for us to do our jumping jacks? You'll see. And I'm telling you, it's so, so important. We cannot reiterate this enough, how important it is to pay attention to your health and your wellness and your physical activity. So thank you, Eraldo, for showing us those fun exercises. Of course, on Eraldo's website, you can see a lot more. He's got some awesome clips of when he was on TV. He has some fun ones. He has one even with like superheroes. I mean, who doesn't love superheroes? I still love superheroes. That he's showing some like superhero exercise moves. So I love that. And Eraldo, how can our audience and listeners connect with you?
Obviously, my website, EraldoMaglara.com. They can go to my Facebook page at Eraldo Maglara, and Twitter, and all the main social media handles. As long as you punch in Eraldo Maglara into Google, it should pop right up, and it'll direct you to my book, my podcast, The Fit Life, and all the other things that I've done in the past. So
I love it. Well, I mean, I know I've enjoyed talking to you. I know for a fact the audience has enjoyed listening. And for those of you watching, if you're listening, for sure, check out the YouTube video so you can see these simple exercises that you can do and you can do with your family. And of course, support Eraldo. Get on his website, check out the clips, follow him on YouTube, follow his podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
A Fit Life.
Fit Life. A Fit Life?
Fit Life, yeah.
Fit Life.
Fit Life. And it's available on iTunes. It's available on Google, Spotify, and all the luminary, all the big platforms. It's available there. Yeah.
All right. So don't forget to check out and subscribe, leave a review, because I feel this is such awesome information. So Fit Life is his podcast. Again, check out his website. So thank you again, Eraldo, for being on. It has been my pleasure, and I'm sure the audience's pleasure.
Thank you for having me on the show, Dr. D. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for working out, burning a little sweat too on the show.
My pleasure.
And for making the impact that you are in changing people's lives to have a better life as we age, to do so gracefully, but also in a healthy way. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And then, of course, like I said, don't forget to check him out, his website, EraldoMaglara.com, and you can find everything there. That will be posted, so you'll be able to get that link. And of course, thank you for joining us today, whether you're watching or listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dr. Mom Show. Same thing on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio. Follow on Instagram at drmom_show. And if you're a Facebook fanatic, you can find the Dr. Mom Show there too. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Dr. Mom Show. And Eraldo hit on it. If you are wanting to write a book, and it doesn't matter, it may take a couple months or a year, everybody has a story to tell. Of course, with Alea Publishing, we give you that personal touch to turn your vision into legacy. So check out Alea Publishing if you want to make an impact in somebody else's life by either telling a story, or your journey, or like Eraldo, just something you've seen and something you just want to impart in other people's lives. For sure, you can contact us and we'll help you with that. Of course, just a reminder, don't forget to check out www.drDaleneMushalak.com. That's my website. Keep track of what's going on, all the guests we have on, the freebies on there, your immunity guideline. That's free right now. You want to boost your immunity. Don't forget to take your vitamin D, your zinc, your vitamin C. It's all there, what you need to take. And of course, the workshops that are going on right now that you can sign up for. So thank you again, Eraldo. Let's give him a big hand. Woo, 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 woo. And of course, life is precious and priceless. You are amazing, and you can do anything you put your mind to because you are a superhero. Just have faith over fear. God bless. And of course, don't forget, Dr. Mom always says, don't forget to wash your hands, kiss your kids, love your family, and say your prayers good night. Love you from the Dr. Mom Show. Bye-bye.
Bye.